Hello and welcome to my Sekiro guide for PC. In this guide I will provide beginner and advanced tips to help new players into the game. Rage quit caution. Sekiro is hard at first and may cause you to rage quit early, but if you persevere and take the time to learn it, it will become enjoyable towards mid and end game. The game has a relatively steep learning curve for those that are unfamiliar with evasion, blocking and jumping mechanics, but it becomes more tolerable the further you progress in the game. The one thing I noticed with the main character is that he attacks relatively slow compared to all the enemies in the game. He has no normal attack other than jump attack, which can attack fast, which is why I do so sometimes in my playthrough. It might be by design of the game devs so that the player gets hit and punished for making wrong moves. Drinking or using an item takes a few valuable seconds that can get you hit and killed if you are caught doing it. You need to do it at an appropriate time. Anyhow, drinking while fighting your foe in the middle of combat is considered rude behavior anyways. Would also like to add, Sekiro is a wonderful masterpiece. At first it is very difficult, especially for a beginner, but when you get to endgame and beat the final bosses, you'll realize that its entire design is golden and your skills as a player may have improved compared from the moment you started playing the game. It is akin to a no pain no gain game. Coming from older games like Tenchu Fatal Shadows and Onimusha, I can say that this game is great enough to be in league with these older but great titles, and it has the mix of Dark Souls-like difficulty but still manageable once you keep persevering and pass the learning curve. There are some people that even beat the game blindfolded or using a dance pad, which goes to show that this game is really enjoyable once you get the hang of it. Without further ado, here are my tips for playing Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. 1. Aim to get gourd seeds. This refills your health and acts as an HP potion. It gets refreshed every time you rest at a sculptor idol. There are a total of 10 gourd seeds in the game. You can find them in various locations or buy them from certain merchants. Search for a guide on gourd seeds. 2. Likewise, aim to get prayer beads. You need 4 prayer beads to make a prayer necklace, which you can then make in any sculptor idol statue to extend your health and posture. It is very important to keep stacking prayer beads so that it allows you to fight more powerful bosses later in the game. 3. Practice blocking, parrying, Makiri counter, dodging and jumping away, jumping above, etc. This game is intense on reflexes, and it is what makes its combat edgy, tedious, which may be difficult for some, but also satisfying if you pull it off. The game will have enemies that do power attacks which flash above your head as a signal, all of which can be avoided taking damage if you use the right move for it. Blocking, parrying, Makiri counter, dodging, jumping. If you have mastered how to jump, parry and block, almost 75% of the enemies in this game are covered. The other enemies can easily be defeated with the use of prosthetic tools. Tip number 4, posture bar. The game provides you 2 ways of defeating an enemy. The first is the standard HP bar that everyone is familiar with. The second is posture bar. Whichever bar gets depleted first progresses you to defeat the enemy. Depleting the posture bar can be advantageous as may provide a faster way to defeat some enemies than others. When you deplete the posture bar, it will give you an opportunity to score a death blow which clears the enemy's HP to 0. Tip 5. Upgrade your prosthetic tools. It is important to upgrade your prosthetic tools. The most important upgrades I would recommend are: Phoenix's Lilac Umbrella, allows you to kill undead magic bosses with ease. Okanaga's Flame Vent. Suzaku's Lotus Umbrella, prevents fire damage. Long Spark, prolonged firecrackers. Sparkling Axe, does additional damage. Malcontent, for the Demon of Hatred boss fight. In addition, there are also some prosthetic tools that I didn't use as much throughout my playthrough. It is more of a preferential choice, but I prefer the hard-hitting axe rather than the poison blade Sabumeru or spear to kill enemies. This is because the axe does a lot of posture damage. Tip 6. Skills. There are skills that you must get in the game in order to progress easier. One such skill is Makiri counter, which is essential against certain enemies and bosses. If you get the upgrade Shinobi Eyes, it will further enhance the amount of posture damage done when doing a Makiri counter, which is highly recommended against certain bosses. Also get the skills that increase the maximum number of spirit emblems you can have. Emma's Medicine is also recommended as it boosts the healing power of your gourd. Lastly, Breath of Life. Life is very important in late game because you will get hit a lot by enemies and you recover HP from death blows. Tip 7. Always aim to stealth death blow whenever possible. Stealth death blow makes progressing levels easy. Stealth death blows only need one hit to kill an enemy, and if you do it on a boss, decrease the number of phases you need to fight them by 1. Tip 8. Combat arts are optional, but they sometimes help. This is because some combat moves are even slower to execute than normal attack, but they do more damage than normal attack. It is more of a preference as well when it comes to using it in boss fights. I would recommend the Ichimonji double attack in Mortal Draw, or Empowered Mortal Draw, if you get these attacks. The latter isn't as safe as the former and costs spirit emblems to use, so be careful if you decide to use it. Combat arts can be executed by pressing and holding right mouse button then press left mouse button. There are also some combat arts you can learn after defeating certain bosses in the game. Furthermore, here are some advanced tips for players in mid to late game. Not really necessary to finish the game but do increase damage. To get all prosthetic tools upgraded to the highest version, which is the Lazulite version, you need to do multiple playthroughs. You can get a total of 6 lapis lazuli per game cycle. You will need 10 to upgrade every prosthetic tool. Players will have to make a second, new game plus cycle to get the remaining lapis lazuli. You only need to kill the demon of hatred once to have the necessary amount of items to max out all tools. I would not recommend getting the Lazulite Sacred Flame Vent tool, because it does not do any fire damage effect at all, hence, it will not stagger bosses to allow you to score free hits. I would recommend getting the Lazulite Axe instead, as it amplifies the damage even further. To start playthrough number 2, simply go to Dilapidated Temple and interact with the Sculptor Idol. Note, you might want to back up your saved game before doing this if you will need it. This concludes my guide on Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. If this has helped you, consider liking and subscribing to help my channel. Happy gaming!